"We're going tomorrow, Mom. I've sold your beach house." But what she didn't know was, I stared at my daughter-in-law Jennifer through the phone screen, her perfectly manicured nails tapping against her designer coffee cup. "We're going tomorrow, Mom. I've sold your beach house." The words came out so casually, like she was telling me about a dentist appointment. My son Marcus stood behind her, wouldn't even look at the camera. That's when I knew. That's when I decided to destroy her. See, what Jennifer didn't know was that sweet old Margaret, the struggling widow she'd been playing for 3 years, was about to rip her entire world apart. What she didn't know was that I'd been 10 steps ahead of her since day one. And what she definitely didn't know was that the beach house she thought she'd just sold, she never owned it, not even close. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me back up. 3 years ago, my husband David died. Pancreatic cancer. 42 years of marriage gone in 6 brutal months. Marcus was my rock during those dark days. Called every single day, visited every weekend, made sure I was eating, breathing, surviving. I was so wrapped up in grief I didn't notice when things shifted. When his calls went from daily to weekly. When his visits dried up completely. When my son started looking at me like I was a problem to solve, instead of his mother. Then came Jennifer. Marcus met her at some corporate networking thing. Showed me her picture with this proud smile. "Mom, she's incredible. She works in real estate, super successful, driven." Red flag number 1, but I was too heartbroken to see it. She was gorgeous, I'll give her that. Blonde hair, legs for days, smile that could convince you to buy swampland. At their wedding, I wore the ugly lavender dress she picked out, smiled through her mother calling me the before picture, and wrote them a check for 50 grand because I wanted my boy happy. The mask slipped fast. 3 months after the wedding, I drove up for a surprise visit. Jennifer answered the door in workout clothes and her face pure irritation. "Oh, Margaret, we weren't expecting you." Not Mom, Margaret, like I was some random neighbor. Marcus appeared behind her, all flustered, explaining they had plans. "Maybe call first next time, sorry, Mom." I drove home with my stomach in knots. Then Thanksgiving happened. I'd hosted Thanksgiving at the beach house for 40 years. 40 years. Sacred family tradition. When I called to ask what time they'd arrive, Jennifer picked up Marcus's phone. "Actually, Margaret, we're doing Thanksgiving with my family this year. Marcus needs to network with people who matter. Your little beach thing doesn't fit our lifestyle." Click. She hung up on me. I spent Thanksgiving alone that year, crying into mashed potatoes I'd made for 3 people. The beach house felt haunted without David, without Marcus, without anyone. But the red flags kept coming bigger and bloodier. Year 2 of their marriage, Jennifer started asking for money. "Always for Marcus," she said. "Marcus really needs a new car, we're tight this month." $20,000. "We're redoing the kitchen, you know how important entertaining is for his career." 35,000. "We're thinking about kids, soon need a bigger house." 50,000 for a down payment. Every request came with the unspoken threat, pay up or lose your son completely. And like an idiot desperate to stay connected to my only child, I paid. Every single time. My 70th birthday was when I finally woke up. I invited them for dinner. Nothing fancy, just wanted to see my son on my birthday. They showed up 2 hours late. Jennifer was on her phone the entire time, not even pretending to care. I'd made Marcus's favorite pot roast with all the sides, baked a cake from scratch. Jennifer looked at the food like I'd served her roadkill. "Ah, red meat, Margaret. We're basically vegetarian now. Don't you pay attention?" "Come on, Marcus, we have that thing." That thing was drinks with her friends. They left before I could cut the cake. Marcus hugged me at the door, and God, he felt so thin, so hollow. "Sorry, Mom. Happy birthday. Love you." But he still left. I sat in the dark that night, untouched birthday cake on the counter, and something inside me just snapped. I was done being the convenient ATM, done being the burden, done watching my son disappear into this woman's claws. But I wasn't going to cry about it. I was going to war. First move, I stopped offering money. When Jennifer called with her usual demands, I'd sigh. "Oh, sweetie, times are really tight. I'm worried about my own retirement. I think I've been too generous, need to be more careful." Her response was instant venom. Seriously, Margaret, after everything Marcus does for you, he calls you, he visits, he deals with your constant neediness. You're so selfish. But I held the line. The calls became less frequent. Good. Let her show me who she really was. Second move, I hired a private investigator. Tom Chen was ex-police, sharp as hell, discreet as a shadow. I told him everything, showed him every check I'd written, every cruel comment, every red flag. I need to know who my daughter-in-law really is. I need ammunition. Tom looked at me with something like respect. I'll get you answers, Mrs. Morrison. 3 months later, Tom handed me a file that made my blood freeze. Jennifer wasn't just ambitious. She was a professional con artist. She'd done this before in Florida. Targeted a widower, convinced him to sign over his house, then disappeared with his life savings. The case settled out of court records sealed, but Tom had connections. She'd researched Marcus online after David died, found out about the beach house, positioned herself at that corporate event where they randomly met. She'd hunted my son like prey. But wait, it gets worse. Jennifer was having an affair with her real estate broker, Derek Vaughn. 8 months of hotel rooms and secret weekends, while Marcus worked himself to death to afford her lifestyle. Tom had photos, timestamps, hotel receipts. My son was being cheated on, lied to, destroyed from the inside out, and he had no idea. I could have told Marcus right then, could have shown him the evidence, demanded he leave her. But here's the thing about manipulation, it rewires your brain. 3 years of Jennifer's poison had made Marcus defensive, loyal to her, suspicious of me. If I came at him with accusations, he'd protect her, choose her. I'd lose him forever. So I made a different plan. I was going to let Jennifer think she'd won. Let her get so confident, so overextended that when I pulled the rug out, she'd have nowhere to land. I was going to give her exactly enough rope to hang herself. That's when I started playing poor. I stopped maintaining the beach house. Let the paint peel, let the garden get wild. When Marcus and Jennifer finally visited, I made sure they saw bills scattered everywhere, made worried comments about money, about how hard it was living on just Social Security. Jennifer's eyes lit up like slot machines. You know, Margaret, if the house is too much, Marcus and I could help you sell it. You could get a nice apartment somewhere. We'd handle everything. I acted grateful, confused, elderly, watched her practically drool thinking about those commission fees. Over the next 6 months, I crafted the perfect illusion, drove my old Honda instead of the Mercedes in storage, wore the same 3 outfits on repeat, served cheap wine and store-brand crackers, sighed about medical bills that didn't exist. Jennifer ate it up. Her contempt grew with every visit. She stopped using my name entirely. I became your mother to Marcus, or worse, the old burden, when she thought I was out of earshot. Then 8 months ago, Marcus called. Mom, we need to talk about the beach house. My heart dropped, but I kept my voice steady. What about it, honey? Jennifer and I think it's time to sell. You're not getting younger. The maintenance is too much, the property taxes. We could get 2, maybe 3 million. You'd be set for life. And honestly, we really need help with a down payment. Jennifer found this incredible place in Newport Beach. There it was. The ask, the con, the end game. Let me think about it, I said softly, like a confused old woman. Then I called my lawyer. Robert Morrison had been David's best friend for 30 years. When I told him what was happening, he went red with rage. Margaret, say the word and I'll destroy her. Injunction, exposure, prosecution, everything. Not yet, I said. I need her to show Marcus who she is. He won't believe it from me. He has to see it himself. Robert nodded slowly. What do you need? Set a trap. Here's what Robert did. He created a fake deed transfer, making it look like I'd signed the beach house over to Marcus 3 years ago, right after David died. Filed it with the county with a deliberate flaw that would invalidate it in court. Then he casually mentioned it to someone in real estate, knowing the gossip would reach Jennifer. 3 weeks later, she called, voice dripping with fake sweetness. Margaret, I was doing some research and found the deed transfer in the county records. You signed the house over to Marcus after David passed. Did you forget? It's okay, it happens at your age. The good news is Marcus can sell whenever he wants, and we can really help you out. I played confused, grateful, senile. Oh my, did I sign something those months after David are such a blur? Are you sure? She assured me she was sure, condescension thick in her voice. Don't worry, they'd handle everything. I hung up and smiled. The trap was set. Jennifer moved fast after that. Listed the house with Derek's brokerage, obviously. Brought buyers through while I was visiting friends. Staged rooms with her own furniture. Made plans for their $3 million. Even suggested I look at assisted living facilities in Riverside where they could keep an eye on me. I nodded and smiled and played confused while Robert documented every illegal action, every boundary crossed, every plan they made with property they didn't own. The buyer appeared a month ago, some tech executive wanting a beach retreat. Derek pushed the sale through at lightning speed, promised the deal of a lifetime. Jennifer was ecstatic, posting cryptic celebrations on Instagram. Big changes coming, with a photo of her and Derek toasting champagne. Not her and Marcus, her and Derek. My son liked the post, completely oblivious. The closing was scheduled for tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. at the title company downtown. Jennifer invited me to lunch today to break the news, to control the narrative, to make sure I understood the house was sold and I was powerless. That's when she delivered that line, casual as ordering coffee. "We're going tomorrow, Mom. I've sold your beach house." I took a slow sip of my tea, let the silence stretch like a tightrope. Then I smiled. "That's interesting, Jennifer. Tell me more about this sale." She glanced off screen, probably at Derek. 10 a.m. tomorrow, title company downtown. Obviously, you don't need to be there since the house is in Marcus's name, but we thought we'd tell you first, out of respect. Respect. From a woman who called me an old leech. "That's so thoughtful," I said softly. "Jennifer, I've been meaning to ask, how long have you been sleeping with Derek Vaughn?" The color drained from her face like someone pulled a plug. Behind her, Marcus's head snapped up. "What did you just say?" Jennifer recovered fast, that brittle laugh. "Marcus, your mother is confused. This is what I've been saying, she needs care." "I have photos." I interrupted, voice calm as ice. 8 months worth, dated, time-stamped. The Peninsula Hotel, mostly. Derek's condo. That girl's trip to Santa Barbara. You were with Derek. Room 412. I have the receipts, Jennifer. All of them. Marcus grabbed the phone from her hands, face white with shock. "Mom, is this real? You have proof." "Every single piece of it, sweetheart. I hired an investigator months ago. I've been watching, documenting, waiting for exactly the right moment. And Jennifer, baby, this is that moment." Jennifer lunged for the phone, screaming now. "You crazy old bitch! You're lying. Marcus, she's lying. She's always been jealous. The closing tomorrow isn't happening," I continued, my voice cutting through her hysteria like a blade. "That deed you found, the one that made you think Marcus owned the house, it's fake, deliberately fake. My lawyer created it specifically to trap you. The beach house was never Marcus's to sell. It's mine. It's always been mine. Every showing you did, every buyer you contacted, every authorization you forged. That's fraud, Jennifer. Felony fraud. I could have you arrested right now." The silence was deafening. Marcus's face crumbled as reality crashed over him. Jennifer looked like a cornered animal, eyes darting, calculating her next escape. "Here's what happens next," I said, voice hardening. "You call Derek right now and cancel that closing. Tell him there's been a mistake, the property isn't for sale. Then you pack your things and get out of my son's house, tonight. You sign whatever divorce papers Marcus's lawyer draws up quietly, without contest, taking only what you brought to the marriage. If you do these things, I won't press charges. I won't expose you publicly. You can slither away to your next victim. And if I don't, pure venom, then I bury you. I press charges for fraud, identity theft, forgery, everything. I make sure every real estate board in California knows your name and your con in Florida. I'll expose you so completely you'll never work again. I'll make your life a living hell, Jennifer, and unlike you, I actually have the resources to do it. $40 million worth of resources, to be specific. Yeah, you didn't know about that, did you? David sold his software company 2 years before he died. $40 million. You've been playing for pocket change, sweetheart, and you didn't even know it. Jennifer's face went from white to gray. Marcus made a sound like he'd been punched in the gut. The beach house you tried to steal that's barely a fraction of David's estate. The struggling widow you thought you were conning. She's richer than you ever dreamed. Every dollar you took from me, every manipulation, every cruel word, I let it happen because I was building a case. And now I have you completely. So what's it going to be? Jennifer, walk away quietly or get destroyed publicly. Your choice. You have 30 seconds. Jennifer's mask shattered completely. The beautiful, charming real estate agent disappeared, replaced by cold calculation and rage. She looked at me through the screen with pure hatred. You'll regret this, Margaret. No, I said softly. I really won't. Goodbye, Jennifer. Marcus baby, come home. It's time. I ended the call and sat in the sudden silence of my kitchen. My hands were shaking, adrenaline flooding my system. The afternoon sun caught dust motes in golden light, the same light that had filled this house for 40 years. David's house, our house, safe now, protected. My phone rang 30 seconds later. Marcus' voice destroyed. Mom, I'm so sorry. I'm so fucking sorry. Come home, I said gently. Just come home. He arrived 3 hours later looking hollow and broken, collapsed into my arms like he was 7 years old again, sobbing against my shoulder. We stood in the doorway as the sun set over the Pacific, and I held my son while he grieved the death of his marriage and the person he'd been. That night we sat on the porch until 3 a.m. Marcus told me everything. How Jennifer had isolated him from his friends, how she'd convinced him I was becoming a burden, how guilty he'd felt that he couldn't help me more financially, how she'd racked up secret credit card debt in his name, promising the beach house sale would fix everything. He cried when he talked about my birthday, about Thanksgiving, about all the times he'd chosen her over me and hated himself for it. I thought you were really struggling, Mom. I felt like such a failure. I couldn't even take care of my own mother. His voice broke completely. You were being manipulated by a professional con artist, I said firmly. That's not your fault. That's hers. You loved someone. That's not a crime. She's the criminal here, not you. How did you know? When did you realize? I thought about that moment, that exact second when everything clicked. Your birthday last year. You called me at midnight because Jennifer had forgotten. She'd thrown herself a party, a just because party, and didn't remember it was your birthday until you mentioned it. You laughed it off, said birthdays didn't matter. But I heard the hurt underneath. I realized you'd become so used to being an afterthought in your own marriage that you'd stopped expecting better. That's when I knew I had to act. The money, he said quietly. There's really 42 million now, actually. Investments. Your father was brilliant with money. We lived modestly because that's who we were, not because we had to. He wanted you to build your own success, not coast on his. But he also left trusts for you, for your future children, managed by Robert. I never told you, because David didn't want money to define you, or make you a target. Like it made you a target. Like it made me a target, I agreed. But it also gave me the weapons to fight back. I could afford Tom. I could afford Robert. I could afford to wait to plan to strike at exactly the right moment. Your father's legacy protected us both. Marcus was quiet for a long time, staring at the moonlight on water. What happens now? Now you heal. You divorce Jennifer cleanly. You rebuild yourself, and you stop feeling guilty for being human. We all make mistakes, baby. What matters is what we do after. The next morning, exactly when the closing would have happened, Robert called. Jennifer contacted Derek. Closings canceled. Derek's furious, threatening lawsuits, but I sent him a letter explaining his options. He went very quiet, very fast. Robert paused. Jennifer moved out last night, left divorce papers on Marcus's kitchen counter. Looks like she had them ready to go. Women like her always have an exit strategy, I said. There's one more thing, Robert added. I did some more digging after your call yesterday. Jennifer's Florida con. It wasn't her first. She's got a pattern going back 10 years. Texas, Arizona, Florida, now California. She targets widowers or their children, gets close extracts, assets, disappears. You're the first person who's ever outplayed her. Good, I said coldly. Let her remember that. Let her remember that she looked at Margaret Morrison and thought she saw an easy mark, and instead found someone who destroyed her completely. The divorce finalized 3 months later. Quick, quiet, exactly as I'd demanded. Jennifer signed everything without a fight, knowing exposure would destroy her. She left California completely. Last Tom heard she was in Arizona working at a car dealership, her real estate career in ashes. Marcus moved back into the beach house temporarily. He needed the comfort of home, the sound of waves, the memories of his father. We spent those months rebuilding our relationship brick by brick. He went to therapy, worked through the gaslighting and manipulation, learned to trust himself again. Slowly, the real Marcus emerged. He laughed more, saw his old friends, picked up hobbies Jennifer had convinced him to abandon, got color back in his face. 6 months after that video call, we were making dinner together when Marcus suddenly stopped chopping vegetables. "Mom, I need to say something." I braced myself. "Okay. Thank you for not giving up on me. Thank you for being smarter than I was. Thank you for protecting Dad's legacy and our home, and me, even when I didn't deserve it, even when I chose her over you. I don't know if I can ever make that up to you." I took his hands in mine. "Marcus, you don't have to make anything up to me. You're my son. I would burn down the world for you. What Jennifer did, that's on her, not you. You were loyal and loving. Those are good qualities. Don't let her twist them into something shameful." He pulled me into a hug, and we stood there while the chicken sizzled and the sun set and life slowly became normal again. But I wasn't done. Not quite. I called Robert the next day. "I want to set up a foundation for people who've been victims of financial elder abuse, legal resources, investigators, counseling, everything I had access to. I want other people to have those weapons too." Robert was quiet, then his voice came back warm. "David would love that, Margaret. What do you want to call it?" I looked around the beach house at the morning light through David's windows at the home we'd built and protected. The Morrison Legacy Foundation, because David's legacy isn't just money, it's justice, it's family, it's making sure good people win sometimes. The foundation launched 6 months later. We helped elderly parents dealing with predatory children. We provided resources to people gaslit and stolen from. We won some cases, lost others, but every person we helped was someone who didn't have to face their Jennifer alone. Marcus got involved too, telling his story, warning others about red flags, turning his pain into purpose. And slowly he healed, started dating again cautiously. Met a woman named Sarah, a teacher warm and real and genuine. She showed up in jeans with homemade cookies and asked real questions and didn't care about money or status. On Christmas Eve, when she helped me make David's traditional lasagna and laughed at my terrible jokes, I knew she was different. She was real. They dated for a year before Marcus proposed. This time he asked my opinion first. We sat on the porch with wine watching the sunset, and he showed me the ring. "Do you think Dad would approve?" "Your father would love her," I said honestly. "He'd love that she makes you laugh, that she sees you for who you really are." "Yes, baby. Dad would definitely approve." The wedding was small, intimate, held right here at the beach house on a perfect June day. Robert officiated. In his ceremony, he talked about second chances, about love that heals instead of harms, about choosing to trust again after betrayal. There wasn't a dry eye anywhere. During the reception, Marcus pulled me aside to our porch. "Mom, Sarah, and I want to stay here, in the beach house. We want to raise our family here where Dad taught me to fish, where you and I put my life back together. This is home. Is that okay?" I couldn't speak around the lump in my throat, could only pull him close and hold on tight. David's house, David's legacy, David's son, all of it continuing forward into a bright future. This was what I'd fought for, this moment right here, that Christmas Eve 2 years after that terrible video call we gathered around the table that once held my sad birthday cake. but now it groaned with food and voices and laughter. Sarah's hand rested on her barely showing belly, my grandchild growing inside. Marcus caught my eye across the table and mouthed, "Thank you." I shook my head, mouthed back thank you, because he'd given me what I thought I'd lost: family, purpose, hope. That night, after everyone slept, I stood alone on the porch where David had taken his last breaths, where Marcus and I had rebuilt everything. I looked at the moonlight on the Pacific and whispered, "We did it, love. Our boy is okay. He's happy. He's home." The wind picked up warm and gentle, and I chose to believe it was David saying he knew, he approved, he was proud. Jennifer thought she was playing a sad old widow for an easy $3 million. What she didn't know was that widow had $42 million, a brilliant lawyer, a ruthless investigator, and absolutely nothing left to lose. She didn't know that behind the confused old woman act was a warrior armed with her husband's fortune and a mother's fury. She didn't know you can take a lot from a mother, her time, her money, her dignity, but you can never ever take her children. Not without consequences. Not without learning that some battles you should never start, because some women will finish them completely, utterly, without mercy. Jennifer learned that lesson the hard way. "We're going tomorrow, Mom. I've sold your beach house." But what she didn't know was the house was never hers to sell. My son was never hers to keep, and I was never the weak old woman she thought I was. Now she knows. Now she'll always know. And that's my justice. Complete and final and absolutely satisfying. The beach house stands solid beneath my feet tonight, full of love and laughter and 3 generations of family. Jennifer tried to steal it with lies and manipulation and casual cruelty. But she forgot one crucial thing: you don't fuck with a mother's love. Ever. I thought the war was over. I really did. Jennifer was gone. Marcus was healing, and life at the beach house had settled into something that felt almost normal. Sarah had moved in 3 months after the wedding, and her presence filled the empty spaces with warmth I hadn't realized we'd been missing. She painted the guest room a soft yellow, planted tomatoes in the garden, left her reading glasses on every surface. The house felt alive again. But then Marcus came home one Tuesday evening with his face gray as ash, holding an envelope like it might explode. "Mom, we need to talk, right now." Sarah was behind him, her hand on his back, and the fear in her eyes made my stomach drop. I'd been chopping onions for dinner, and I set down the knife, carefully wiped my hands on a dish towel. "What happened?" Marcus tossed the envelope onto the kitchen counter. It slid across the granite and stopped right in front of me. Official looking, legal. The return address made my blood freeze: Bancroft and Associates Attorneys at Law, Phoenix, Arizona. "Jennifer's suing us," Marcus said flatly. "She's suing for half the value of this house. Claims I promised her in writing that we'd split everything 50-50 if we ever divorced. Says she has emails, text messages, recorded conversations. Her lawyer is demanding $1.5 million, Mom. She says if we don't settle within 30 days, she's going public with a story about how we're a wealthy family who defrauded a working-class woman out of her rightful assets." The onions I'd been cutting suddenly made my eyes burn, or maybe that was just rage. I picked up the envelope, pulled out the legal documents, scanned them quickly. Jennifer's signature at the bottom, all flowery and fake. A Phoenix law firm I'd never heard of. Claims of verbal contracts and promised compensation and elder manipulation by Margaret Morrison. That last part made me see red. "She's claiming I manipulated you." I looked up at Marcus. "She's actually claiming that—" "Read page 4. Sarah said quietly, and I heard the anger vibrating under her calm teacher voice. "That's where it gets really bad." I flipped to page 4 and started reading. With every sentence, my blood pressure climbed higher. Jennifer's legal team had crafted a narrative that was pure fiction, but devastatingly believable. According to her version of events, I was a controlling, wealthy matriarch who'd never approved of her. She claimed I'd used my money to manipulate Marcus, threatened to cut him off financially unless he divorced her, and created false evidence of an affair that never happened. She painted herself as the victim of a coordinated family conspiracy, a working woman who'd loved my son genuinely, but got destroyed by old money and family politics. It was brilliant, absolutely brilliant, and complete bullshit. "This is insane," I said slowly, reading the last paragraph where Jennifer's lawyer threatened to release this story to media outlets if we didn't settle. She's actually threatening to go to the press with lies about us. "Not just any press," Marcus said, his voice tight. "She's specifically threatening to contact that Netflix producer who does those documentaries about family fraud. You know, the one who did that series about wealthy families screwing over regular people? She's positioning herself as the next big expose." I set down the papers and looked at my son. Really looked at him. He'd gained weight-back color in his face, light in his eyes. Sarah had helped him become himself again. And now Jennifer, from 2 states away, was trying to drag him back into hell. "Call Robert," I said. "Right now. Conference call. I want him to hear this directly from us." 20 minutes later, we had Robert Morrison on speakerphone. I'd laid out the legal documents on the kitchen table, and Marcus had his laptop open, showing the email thread from Jennifer's lawyer. Robert listened in silence as we explained everything, and I could practically hear his blood pressure rising through the phone line. "This is extortion," Robert said, finally, his lawyer voice cold and sharp. "Pure and simple. She's threatening reputational harm unless you pay her off. That's criminal." "Can she actually win?" Sarah asked, and I loved her for jumping straight to the practical question. "I mean, obviously it's all lies, but can she actually make this stick in court?" Robert was quiet for a long moment. "Here's the problem. Truth is a defense against defamation, but proving truth takes time and money. Jennifer knows this. She's not trying to win in court. She's trying to make going to court so expensive and publicly humiliating that you'll settle just to make her go away. And honestly, it's a smart strategy. If this goes to trial, even if you win the media attention alone, could be devastating. Your foundation, Margaret, your reputation, Marcus's career, all of it gets dragged through the mud while we fight." "So what do we do?" Marcus's voice cracked slightly. "We just pay her, let her win." "Absolutely not," I said firmly. "Robert, there has to be another way. We have evidence. We have Tom's investigation. We have the photos of her affair. We have documentation of her con in Florida. We have everything." "Which is why I don't understand this move," Robert said slowly, and I could hear him thinking through the phone. "Jennifer knows we have evidence that would destroy her in court. She knows about Tom's investigation. She was there when you exposed her affair. Why would she risk going public when we could expose her right back?" That's when Sarah spoke up, her voice quiet but certain. "Because she doesn't think you'll use it. She's betting that you care more about protecting your privacy and reputation than about destroying her. She thinks Margaret is too classy to get down in the dirt, and Marcus is too nice to completely ruin his ex-wife publicly. She's counting on your decency." The silence that followed was heavy. Sarah was right, and we all knew it. Jennifer was gambling that we'd take the high road, settle quietly, let her walk away with money she hadn't earned, rather than turn this into a public war. "She's wrong," I said softly. "She's very, very wrong." Robert made a sound that might have been a laugh, or might have been approval. "What are you thinking, Margaret?" "I'm thinking Jennifer made a critical mistake. She assumed I'm the same person I was 2 years ago, the grieving widow who wanted to handle things quietly. But I'm not that person anymore. I built a foundation specifically to help people fight back against financial predators. I've spent the last year becoming very public about elder abuse and family fraud, and now she wants to threaten me with media exposure." I felt a smile cross my face, cold and sharp. "Let's give her exactly what she's asking for. Let's go public. All of it." "Mom, wait," Marcus said quickly. "If we do that, everyone will know about Jennifer, about the affair, about me being an idiot who almost let her steal the house. My colleagues, my clients, everyone. I'll be that guy who got conned by his wife." I reached across the table and took his hand. "Baby, you'll be the guy who survived a professional con artist and came out stronger. You'll be living proof that manipulation can happen to anyone, that recognizing abuse and getting out takes courage, not stupidity. The foundation has been helping people for a year now, and you know what they all say. They wish they'd had someone to tell them they weren't alone, that it wasn't their fault. You could be that person, Marcus. You could help so many people by telling the truth. Sarah squeezed his other hand. She's right. I've been thinking about this since we got that letter. Jennifer is betting on shame keeping us quiet, but there's no shame in being targeted by a predator. The shame is all hers. Marcus looked between us, something shifting in his face. You really think we should do this? Tell everything. I think, Robert said through the phone, that we should call her bluff. I'll draft a response to her lawyer making it very clear that if she wants a media war, we're prepared to provide documentation of her affair, her previous cons in 3 states, her fraud attempt with the beach house, everything. We'll offer her a choice, withdraw the lawsuit and disappear permanently, or we release everything to the same Netflix producer she's threatening us with. Let's see how confident she is in her victim story when we show up with actual evidence. Do it, I said. Draft it tonight. I want it sent first thing tomorrow morning. After Robert hung up, the 3 of us sat at the kitchen table in silence. The onions I'd been cutting had turned brown, dinner forgotten. Finally, Sarah stood up, walked to the fridge, pulled out a bottle of wine and 3 glasses. Okay, so we're going to war. Again. Let's at least do it with alcohol. I laughed, despite everything, and Marcus managed a weak smile. Sarah poured generously, and we clinked glasses. To truth, she said, and to Jennifer seriously underestimating this family. To Jennifer being a complete moron, Marcus added, taking a long drink. To finishing this once and for all, I said quietly. But even as we drank, even as we tried to be brave and confident, I felt the old fear creeping back. Jennifer had already stolen 3 years of my son's life. She'd already made him doubt himself, made him question his own judgment, made him feel weak and foolish. And now, just when he was finally healing, she was back to tear open old wounds. The cruelty of it made me physically ill. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about Marcus's face when he'd walked in with that envelope, the way all his color had drained away, the way his hands had shaken slightly. He'd worked so hard to rebuild himself, and Jennifer knew exactly how to knock him back down. Around 2 a.m., I gave up on sleep and went downstairs to make tea. Marcus was already there, sitting at the kitchen table in the dark, staring at his laptop screen. Can't sleep either? I asked softly, flipping on the small light over the stove. I've been reading about her, he said, not looking up from the screen. Jennifer. Everything I can find. Tom's original investigation, public records, everything. Mom, she's done this 5 times that we know of. 5 different men in 5 different states over 12 years. I'm number 5. I sat down next to him, looked at the screen. He'd created a whole spreadsheet. Names, dates, locations, estimated amount stolen. The pattern was clear and sickening. Jennifer would target recently widowed men or their children, get close, extract everything she could, then disappear before anyone could build a legal case against her. The guy in Texas, number 3, he killed himself, Marcus said, his voice hollow. 2 months after she cleaned out his accounts and disappeared. His family found him in his garage. Jennifer had convinced him to take out a second mortgage on his house, told him they were investing in her business together. When she left, he lost everything. His kids tried to sue her but couldn't track her down. She'd used a fake name with him. Did you know that she uses different variations of her name? Jennifer Vaughn, Jenny Vaughn Smith, Jennifer V. Morrison. She married me using her legal name, but the others, she was someone else entirely. Marcus, I said gently, reaching for the laptop, you need to stop. This isn't healthy. No. He pulled the laptop away, eyes fierce. I need to see it. I need to understand exactly how bad this is, because that guy in Texas, that could have been me, Mom. If you hadn't stopped her, if you hadn't been smart enough to see through her, I could have been number 5 in more ways than one. She didn't just steal money. She destroyed lives, completely, and she's still out there doing it. The weight of that hung between us. He was right. We'd stopped Jennifer from destroying our family, but we hadn't actually stopped her. She'd just moved on to Arizona, probably already targeting someone new, already spinning her web. Robert's letter will stop her, I said, not entirely believing it myself. Will it really? Marcus looked at me, and I saw fear in his eyes. She's desperate enough to try this lawsuit, even knowing we have evidence against her. That means she's either completely delusional or she's got something we don't know about. Some ace up her sleeve, and that terrifies me, Mom. What if there's something we missed? What if she actually has fake text messages or emails that look real enough to create doubt? I didn't have an answer for that. Jennifer was a professional liar. If anyone could manufacture convincing evidence, it was her. The next morning, Robert's letter went out by email and certified mail. It was masterful, exactly what I'd expected from him. Professional but cold, laying out our evidence point by point, offering Jennifer one final chance to walk away. The deadline was 5 p.m. that same day. Withdraw the lawsuit by close of business, or we release everything. We waited. Sarah went to work because one of us needed to maintain normalcy. Marcus called in sick, couldn't face going to the office. We sat in the living room watching the clock phones on the coffee table between us, waiting for Jennifer or her lawyer to respond. Noon came and went. Nothing. 1 p.m., 2 p.m. Still nothing. At 3:47 p.m., Marcus's phone rang. Unknown number. He looked at me, and I nodded. He answered on speaker. "Marcus, baby, please don't hang up." Jennifer's voice, and hearing it again after 2 years, made every muscle in my body tense. She sounded tired, smaller somehow. "I just want to talk. Just 5 minutes. Please." "You have 3 minutes," Marcus said, his voice hard. "And my mother's listening. Say whatever you're going to say." A long pause. Then Jennifer's voice came back different now. Not the confident predator I remembered. Something else. "I'm sorry. I know you don't believe me. I know you have no reason to, but I'm genuinely sorry. The lawsuit, the threats, all of it. I'm dropping everything. My lawyer will file the withdrawal paperwork today." I leaned forward. This was too easy. "What's the catch, Jennifer?" Another pause. "No catch, Margaret. I just realized I can't win this. Your lawyer made that very clear. If this goes public, I'm done. Not just financially, but criminally. I could actually go to prison. So I'm walking away." Just like that. Marcus's voice was skeptical. "After threatening us with media exposure, after demanding $1.5 million, you're just giving up." "I don't have a choice," Jennifer said. And now I heard something in her voice I'd never heard before. Fear. Real fear. "Look, I know you hate me. You should hate me. But I'm asking, I'm begging, please don't release that information to the press. I'll disappear. I'll leave California, Arizona, all of it. I'll change my name legally and never bother you again. Just please don't destroy me publicly." Part of me, the part that had spent 2 years building a foundation to help abuse victims, wanted to feel sympathy. But the larger part, the mother part, remembered my son sobbing on this porch, remembered him so thin and broken I'd barely recognized him. "Give me one good reason why we should show you mercy," I said coldly. "One reason why you deserve anything except exactly what you did to Marcus, and God knows how many others." Silence. Long enough that I thought she'd hung up. Then her voice came back, barely a whisper. "Because I'm pregnant." The words hit like a physical blow. Marcus went white. I felt my heart stop in my chest. "What?" Marcus managed to choke out. "I'm pregnant. 3 months. It's Derek's baby, obviously not yours. We're getting married next month in Phoenix. His divorce just finalized, and he doesn't know about my past, about any of this. If you release that information, I lose everything. He'll leave me. I'll lose the baby's father. I'll be a single mother with a criminal record and no way to support a child. So I'm begging you. I'll sign anything, agree to anything. Just please let me have this one chance to start over." I looked at Marcus, saw him struggling with emotions I couldn't read. Finally, he spoke, voice strained. "You're asking us to let you lie to another man, trap him the same way you trapped me, all so you can have a fresh start. Are you serious?" "It's not like that with Derek. I love him, really love him. And he loves me. We're building a real life together, a real family. I know I don't deserve it after what I did to you, but this baby deserves a father, a real family. Please, Marcus. You know what it's like to grow up with a father. Don't take that away from my child." It was masterful manipulation, I had to admit, appealing to Marcus's fundamental decency, his love of family, even using David's memory against him. And I could see it working, see Marcus's face softening, see him starting to waver. "No," I said firmly before Marcus could speak. Absolutely not. Jennifer, you don't get to use an innocent baby as a shield for your crimes. If you really love this child, if you really want to give them a good life, then you come clean to Derek right now. Tell him the truth about who you are and what you've done. Let him make an informed choice about whether to stay with you. That's what real love looks like, not more lies. Margaret, please. I'm not finished. You have until 5 p.m. to withdraw your lawsuit, just like Robert's letter said. After that, we release everything. And I mean everything, Jennifer. Every con, every victim, every lie. The Netflix producer your lawyer threatened us with, I'll call her myself. I'll give her Tom's entire investigation file. I'll make you the poster child for family fraud. So you have a choice. Walk away clean right now or get exposed completely. The baby doesn't change anything. You're a monster, Jennifer hissed, the mask dropping completely. You're a vindictive old bitch who can't stand that I moved on, that I found happiness. This isn't about justice. This is about revenge. You're absolutely right, I said calmly. This is revenge. Revenge for what you did to my son. Revenge for the 3 years you stole from him. Revenge for every person you've conned and destroyed. And you know what? It feels amazing. 5 p.m. Jennifer, your choice. I reached over and ended the call. Marcus stared at me, shocked. Mom, she's pregnant. We can't. She's lying, I said flatly. Or she's telling the truth but using it as manipulation. Either way, it doesn't matter. Marcus, listen to me. If we back down now, if we let her use a pregnancy as leverage, what do you think she learns? She learns that she can always find an excuse, always find a way to make herself the victim, always escape consequences. And then she does this again, and the next Marcus or the next one after that, they don't have a mother with $40 million to protect them. They just get destroyed. But what if the baby is real? What if we ruin an innocent child's life? Sarah's voice came from the doorway. Neither of us had heard her come home. Then Derek deserves to know who he's having a child with. Marcus, your mom is right. If Jennifer is really pregnant, if she really wants what's best for that baby, she'll tell Derek the truth and let him decide. But she won't, because this is just another con, another story, another way to avoid consequences. Marcus looked between us, his face anguished. I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I can be the person who destroys a pregnant woman, even if that woman is Jennifer. I took his face in my hands, made him look at me. You're not destroying her. She destroyed herself. All we're doing is telling the truth. And baby, if you can't do this, if this is too hard, then I'll do it for you. Robert and I will handle everything. You don't have to be involved at all. No, he said, finally pulling away and standing up. No, if we're doing this, I need to be part of it. She made me feel weak and stupid and useless for 3 years. I need to see this through. I need to take back that power. At 4:52 p.m., 8 minutes before the deadline, Jennifer's lawyer sent an email. The lawsuit was withdrawn with prejudice, meaning she could never refile. Jennifer agreed to a permanent restraining order, agreed to have no contact with Marcus or me ever again, agreed to everything. We'd won. Again. But it felt hollow somehow. Marcus went upstairs without a word. Sarah followed him, and I heard their low voices through the ceiling, her comforting him crying quietly. I sat alone in the living room as the sun set, thinking about Jennifer's claim of pregnancy, about Derek Vaughn, who had no idea what he was getting into, about the cycle of lies and manipulation that just kept spinning. Robert called at 6 p.m. It's over. She withdrew everything. We're done. Are we? I asked. She's in Arizona now, probably already targeting someone new. When does it actually end? When she gets arrested, Robert said bluntly. When she finally goes too far with someone who presses charges, or when she gets older and loses her looks and can't attract victims anymore. That's the truth, Margaret. People like Jennifer, they don't stop until they're forced to stop. Then we force her to stop, I said slowly, an idea forming. Robert, what if we don't keep this quiet? What if we go to that Netflix producer ourselves, not to expose Jennifer specifically, but to tell Marcus's story? to warn people about family fraud patterns. We don't have to use Jennifer's real name or show her face. We just tell the story, show the red flags, help people recognize the con before they're in too deep." Robert was quiet for a long moment. "That's actually brilliant. It's not defamation if you're telling your own story, and it helps people. Very on brand for the foundation." He paused. "But Marcus would have to agree. He'd have to be willing to go public." "Let me talk to him." I found Marcus and Sarah in their bedroom curled up together on the bed. Marcus's eyes were red but dry. Sarah was reading something on her phone. "There's something you should see," Sarah said, holding out her phone to me. It was a Facebook post from Derek Vaughn's page posted 2 hours ago. A photo of him and Jennifer, her hand on her stomach, both of them grinning at the camera. The caption read, "Thrilled to announce that Jennifer and I are expecting baby Vaughn arriving in 6 months, getting married next week in a small ceremony. Life is beautiful." So she'd told the truth about the pregnancy. That was unexpected. "I want to do it," Marcus said quietly. "The documentary or whatever. I want to tell the story. Not to destroy Jennifer specifically, but to help other people." Sarah's been showing me posts in support groups for abuse survivors. And Mom, there are so many people dealing with versions of Jennifer. So many people who feel stupid and ashamed. If telling my story helps even one person recognize the red flags earlier than I did, then it's worth it. I sat on the edge of their bed. "Are you sure once it's public you can't take it back?" "I'm sure. Actually, I've never been more sure of anything. Jennifer tried to make me feel weak, but surviving her, recognizing what she did, getting out, rebuilding my life with Sarah, that's not weakness, that's strength. And maybe it's time I started seeing it that way." 3 weeks later, we sat down for our first interview with the Netflix producer. Her name was Rebecca Chen, and she'd been making documentaries about financial fraud for 10 years. She listened to our story with intelligent eyes, taking notes, asking sharp questions. When we finished, she sat back and looked at all three of us. "This is exactly the kind of story we need to tell," she said firmly. "Not sensationalized, not dramatic, just real. A professional woman targets a grieving man, manipulates him systematically, and almost gets away with it because he's too ashamed to ask for help. But his mother recognizes the pattern and fights back, and together they build something that helps others. It's perfect." "We don't want to use Jennifer's real name," I said, "or show her face. This isn't about revenge at this point, it's about education." "Agreed. We'll change names, obscure identifying details. The focus will be on the patterns of manipulation, the red flags, the recovery process. Marcus, you okay with being on camera?" Marcus glanced at Sarah, who squeezed his hand. "Yeah, I'm ready." The documentary took 4 months to film. They interviewed Marcus extensively, talking about how Jennifer had isolated him from friends, made him doubt himself, used his love against him. They interviewed me about recognizing the abuse, hiring the investigator, setting the trap. They interviewed people from the Morrison Legacy Foundation, other victims of family fraud, who'd found help and healing. Rebecca even found 2 of Jennifer's previous victims who agreed to speak anonymously, and their stories were chilling in how similar they were to Marcus's experience. When the documentary aired 6 months later, it exploded. Not in a sensational way, but in a deep, meaningful way. The Foundation's phone lines were flooded with calls from people recognizing their own situations. Marcus did interviews on morning shows talking about manipulation and recovery. Sarah started a support group specifically for partners of fraud victims. The story resonated because it was real, because Marcus wasn't ashamed anymore, because we'd turned something devastating into something helpful. 2 months after the documentary aired, I got a call from a detective in Phoenix. Jennifer had been arrested. Turned out Derek Vaughn had watched the documentary, recognized the patterns, did some digging, and found out about Jennifer's past. He'd pressed charges for fraud, providing evidence that she'd stolen money from his accounts. With Derek's testimony and our documentation from California, the Arizona DA built a case. Jennifer was facing multiple felony counts. The baby had been born by then, a girl. Derek got full custody after Jennifer's arrest, and last I heard, his family was helping him raise her. Jennifer took a plea deal, 3 years in prison, full restitution to all known victims. She'd be out by the time her daughter was 4, but Derek made it clear she'd never be part of their lives. I thought I'd feel triumphant when I heard about her arrest. Instead, I just felt tired. Justice had been served, but it had taken so much time, so much energy, so much pain. And there were still more Jennifers out there, still more families getting destroyed. But then Marcus called me from the foundation office, excited. "Mom, you won't believe this. We got a call from a woman in Oregon. She recognized the patterns from the documentary, realized her new boyfriend was exhibiting the same red flags. She got out before he could take anything from her. She said, 'Our story saved her.' And that's when I finally felt it. Not triumph, not revenge, but something better. Purpose. We'd taken the worst thing that happened to our family and turned it into something that actually helped people. Jennifer had tried to destroy us and ended up making us stronger. That night, the whole family gathered at the beach house for dinner. Marcus and Sarah, their daughter Emma, who was 2 years old now, Robert and his wife, even Tom, the investigator who'd become a friend. We ate David's famous lasagna recipe, drank too much wine, watched Emma toddle around on the deck chasing seagulls. Marcus found me later on the porch, our spot watching the sunset. He didn't say anything, just stood next to me, shoulder to shoulder, looking at the same ocean his father had loved. "Dad would be proud," he said finally. "Of all of it. The foundation, the documentary, how we fought back. He'd be proud of you, most of all." "He'd be proud of you," I corrected, "for surviving, for speaking up, for turning pain into purpose. I learned that from you." We stood in comfortable silence as the sun sank lower, painting the sky in shades of orange and gold. Inside the house, I could hear Sarah laughing at something Robert said, could hear Emma squealing with delight. The beach house was full of life and love and family again, exactly as it should be. Jennifer had tried to take this from us. She'd almost succeeded, but we'd fought back, and we'd won, and we'd built something meaningful from the ashes of what she'd tried to destroy. The war was finally over, and this time I knew it was really truly finished. I thought peace would last longer than 18 months. I really did. But the universe has a twisted sense of humor, and apparently our family hadn't suffered enough yet. It started with a phone call on a Thursday morning. I was in the foundation office reviewing applications for legal assistance when my personal cell rang. Unknown number, but the area code was local. I almost didn't answer. "Mrs. Morrison." A woman's voice, young, nervous. "My name is Amanda Vaughn. I'm Derek Vaughn's sister. We need to talk about Jennifer." My blood went cold. "Jennifer's in prison. What could we possibly need to talk about? She's getting out early, next week. Good behavior overcrowding some deal her lawyer worked out. She only served 18 months of a 3-year sentence. And Mrs. Morrison, she's been writing letters. To Derek, to me, to our parents, saying she's changed, that she's found God, that she wants to be part of her daughter's life." I closed my eyes, felt the familiar rage building. "Tell me Derek isn't considering this." "He's not. Derek wants nothing to do with her. But his daughter Lily, she's almost 3 now, and she's been asking questions. 'Where's mommy? Why don't I have a mommy like other kids?' And Jennifer somehow found out about that, and she's using it. Her letters talk about how every child deserves their mother, how she's rehabilitated, how keeping Lily from her is cruel. Our parents are actually starting to waver. They think maybe Jennifer has changed. Maybe Lily does need her mother." "Your parents are idiots," I said bluntly. "Sorry, but they are. Jennifer doesn't change. She adapts. She finds new angles. This is just her next con." "I know that. Derek knows that. But we're worried she's going to file for custody when she gets out. She has rights as Lily's biological mother, and if she's really changed, if she can prove she's stable and reformed, a judge might actually give her visitation. Or worse." I stood up, started pacing. "What do you need from me? Help, advice, something. You beat her once, completely. We thought we had too, but now she's coming back, and I'm terrified we're not ready. Derek is barely holding it together. He's been sober for 2 years, been an amazing father, built a whole life for Lily. If Jennifer gets her hooks back in, if she destroys him again, I don't think he survives it this time." I made a decision in about 3 seconds. "Give me your email. I'm sending you everything we have on Jennifer. Every document, every piece of evidence, everything Tom Chen's investigation uncovered. You show that to Derek's lawyer. You build a case for why Jennifer should never have access to that child, and Amanda tell Derek to call me. We need to coordinate. 2 hours later, I was on a conference call with Derek Vaughn, Amanda, their parents, and Derek's attorney. Derek sounded hollow, exhausted, defeated before the fight even started. I appreciate your help, Mrs. Morrison, but I don't know if it matters. Jennifer's lawyer already filed preliminary paperwork for custody evaluation. She's claiming she's been clean for 18 months, participated in every prison program available, has a job lined up, found housing. On paper, she looks like a reformed success story. On paper is exactly right, I said firmly. It's a performance. Derek, I know you're tired. I know you want this to be over, but you cannot let Jennifer near that child. Not supervised visits, not phone calls, nothing. She will use Lily the same way she used Marcus, the same way she used you. That little girl will become her next victim. How do I prove that, though? How do I prove someone's intent? Her lawyer will say, people deserve second chances, that she's paid her debt to society, that rehabilitation is real. How do I fight that? By showing pattern behavior, Robert's voice cut in. He'd been listening silently, but now he was in full lawyer mode. Derek, Margaret is right. Jennifer has a documented pattern spanning over a decade. 5 victims before you, probably more we don't know about. Each time she served minimal consequences, if any, and each time she moved on to a new target. The Netflix documentary established this pattern publicly. We use that. We argue that Jennifer is a serial predator who targets vulnerable people, and an innocent child cannot be exposed to that risk, regardless of how good her prison record looks. Derek's father spoke up, voice uncertain. But the letters she's written, they seem genuine. She talks about therapy, about understanding her mistakes, about wanting to make amends. Are we sure she hasn't actually changed? I wanted to reach through the phone and shake him. Mr. Vaughn, with all due respect, Jennifer is a professional liar. Writing convincing letters is literally her skill set. She convinced Marcus I was a burden. She convinced Derek she loved him while stealing from him. She's convinced judges, lawyers, and victims for over a decade. Of course, her letters sound genuine. That's how she operates. Margaret's right, Dad, Amanda said sharply. You didn't see what she did to Derek. You didn't watch him almost lose everything. I did. And I'm telling you, those letters are just her next manipulation. The custody evaluation is scheduled for 3 weeks from now, Derek's lawyer said. We need to build our case fast. I'll file for full custody with no visitation rights, cite the criminal history and pattern behavior. But Derek, you need to be prepared. Jennifer will look sympathetic. Young mother made mistakes, served her time, wants a relationship with her child. Judges love redemption stories. Then we give them a better story, I said. We show them a father who stepped up when the mother went to prison, who gave his daughter stability and love and a safe home. We show them what Jennifer has done to multiple families. We make it impossible for any reasonable judge to put that child at risk. After the call ended, I sat in my office staring at the wall. Marcus knocked and came in, took one look at my face and said, "What happened?" I told him everything, watched his face go through shock, anger, fear. "She's going after Lily. After everything, Mom, we have to stop her." "We will. Derek's attorney is good, and we have all the evidence. But Marcus, this is going to be public again. The custody fight, the documentary will come up, our whole history with Jennifer. Are you ready for that?" He sat down heavily. "Do I have a choice? That little girl didn't ask for any of this. She deserves better than Jennifer for a mother." He paused. "I'll testify if they need me to. About the manipulation, the abuse, all of it. If it helps keep Lily safe, I'll do whatever it takes." That night at dinner, Sarah was quiet. Too quiet. Finally, she put down her fork and looked at both of us. "I need to say something, and you're not going to like it." "What's wrong?" Marcus reached for her hand. "I'm pregnant. 12 weeks. I was going to tell you this weekend with a cute announcement and cake. But now Jennifer's back and everything's chaos again, and I just need you to know. We're having another baby." The silence lasted maybe 5 seconds before Marcus pulled her into his arms, half laughing, half crying. "Are you serious, Sarah? That's amazing. That's perfect. Why would we not like that?" "Because Jennifer's back," Sarah said, voice muffled against his shoulder. "And I'm terrified she's going to find out and somehow use it against us. Or worse, try to come after our family again. And I'm scared, Marcus. I'm scared that we're never going to be free of her." I stood up, walked around the table, put my arms around both of them. "Listen to me, both of you. Jennifer does not get to steal your joy. She doesn't get to make you afraid to celebrate your own family. Yes, she's back. Yes, we have to deal with her again. But we beat her before, and we'll beat her again. And this time, she's not just fighting us. She's fighting Derek, Amanda, their whole family, and every single person who saw that documentary and knows exactly what she is." The custody evaluation happened on a cold Tuesday morning in a Phoenix courthouse. I flew out with Marcus Robert and Tom Chen. Derek's legal team had requested permission for us to provide testimony about Jennifer's history, and the judge had allowed it. When we walked into that courthouse, I felt like I was going to war again. Jennifer was already there. I saw her across the courthouse lobby and almost didn't recognize her. Prison had changed her physically. She was thinner, harder somehow, her blonde hair darker and cut short. But her eyes, when they met mine, had the same cold calculation I remembered. She smiled, actually smiled at me like we were old friends meeting for coffee. "Margaret, Marcus, what a surprise seeing you here." "Cut the bullshit, Jennifer," Marcus said flatly. "We're here to make sure you never get near that little girl." "That little girl is my daughter. I have rights." "You have nothing," I said coldly. "You gave up your rights when you went to prison for fraud, when you destroyed multiple families, when you proved you're incapable of putting anyone's needs before your own." Jennifer's smile didn't waver. "I've changed. Prison changed me. I found faith. I got sober. I took every class they offered. I'm not the person I was." "You're exactly the person you were," Tom Chen said quietly, speaking for the first time. "I've been tracking you, Jennifer, the whole time you were in prison. You know who you wrote letters to besides Derek's family, 3 different men, all of them in their 50s or 60s, all of them active in prison ministry programs. You were already setting up your next targets before you even got released." Jennifer's smile finally cracked. "That's harassment. You can't prove anything." "I can prove you sent 73 letters to men you met through prison ministry programs. I can prove you researched their backgrounds, their financial situations. I have copies of every letter where you talked about needing help, getting back on your feet, about how hard it is for a single mother. You were running your con from inside a prison cell, so don't tell us you've changed." The custody hearing was brutal. Jennifer's lawyer painted her as a reformed mother desperate for a relationship with her daughter, showed photos of Lily that Jennifer somehow had gotten talked about. The bond between mother and child, argued that rehabilitation is real and people deserve second chances. Jennifer cried on the stand, talked about her mistakes, about finding God, about how much she regretted everything and just wanted a chance to be a mother. Then our side started. Derek testified about the fraud, the lies, the systematic destruction of his life. Amanda testified about watching her brother nearly die from the stress. Derek's parents, to their credit, testified that they'd been wrong to consider letting Jennifer back in, that after reviewing all the evidence, they now believed she was dangerous. The prosecutor from Jennifer's criminal case testified about her lack of remorse during sentencing, her attempts to manipulate prison staff, her pattern of behavior. Then Marcus took the stand. I watched my son, so strong and steady, now tell his story. The isolation, the manipulation, the way Jennifer had made him doubt his own mind. He talked about the affair, the lies, the attempted theft of the beach house. And then he said something I hadn't expected. "Your Honor, I want to be very clear. I don't believe people can't change. I believe rehabilitation is real and important. But Jennifer hasn't changed. She's adapted. She's learned to sound more convincing, to look more sympathetic. But her pattern is the same. She finds vulnerable people and she destroys them for profit. And now she wants access to a 3-year-old child who can't protect herself, who can't recognize manipulation. If you give Jennifer any access to that little girl, you're not giving a mother a second chance. You're handing Jennifer her next victim." The judge took a week to decide. That week was hell. Derek called every day, anxious, terrified. Sarah had morning sickness and stress made it worse. Marcus couldn't sleep. I threw myself into foundation work, helping other families fight their own battles, trying not to think about what would happen if we lost. The ruling came down on a Friday afternoon. Derek called me, voice shaking. We won. Full custody retained no visitation rights. The judge said Jennifer's pattern of predatory behavior makes her an unacceptable risk to a minor child. She's done, Margaret. She's actually done. I felt my legs go weak with relief. What about appeals? Her lawyer already said they're not appealing. Apparently Jennifer doesn't have the money for it, and the evidence against her is too strong. She's done. But she wasn't done. Not quite. Because 2 weeks after the custody ruling, I got another call. This time from a reporter at a major news network. Mrs. Morrison, I'm working on a story about your family's history with Jennifer Vaughn. I'd like to get your comment on some allegations she's making. My stomach sank. What allegations? She claims your family has been harassing her for years, that you fabricated evidence to destroy her reputation, that the Netflix documentary was a targeted attack orchestrated by you to prevent her from having a relationship with her children. She's claiming you and your son are engaged in a conspiracy to defame her, and she's threatening legal action. I actually laughed. Couldn't help it. Let me guess. She's also claiming to have proof of all this. She says she has documents, recordings, witnesses. She's shopping her story to multiple outlets. Says she's the real victim here and she's ready to fight back. Here's my comment. Jennifer Vaughn is a convicted felon with a documented history of fraud and manipulation spanning over a decade. She lost custody of her daughter because a judge found her to be an unacceptable risk to a child's safety. Everything in the Netflix documentary is factually accurate and supported by evidence. If she wants to sue for defamation, she's welcome to try. Discovery will be fascinating. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have actual victims to help. I hung up and immediately called Robert. She's going to the media, trying to spin this as us victimizing her. Let her, Robert said calmly. Margaret, she has no case, none. This is desperation. She lost custody. She has no money. She's trying one last manipulation to see if she can extort a settlement. We ignore it. If she actually files a lawsuit, which I doubt she will, we'll destroy her in court, again. What if the media runs with it? What if they make her look sympathetic? Then we provide them with the court documents, the criminal records, the evidence. The truth is on our side. It's always been on our side. A few outlets did run stories predictably framed as disgraced mother fights back against wealthy family. But they were quickly buried under the weight of evidence. Tom Chen gave interviews providing documentation of Jennifer's history. Derek gave interviews about the custody battle. Even some of Jennifer's previous victims came forward, adding their stories to the pile. Within a week, Jennifer's comeback story was dead in the water. The final blow came from an unexpected source. One of the men Jennifer had been writing from prison, a retired accountant named Richard Patterson, contacted the foundation. He'd seen the news stories put together that Jennifer was the woman who'd been writing him and wanted to share the letters. They were textbook manipulation. Poor, struggling single mother just needs a little help getting back on her feet. You seem like such a kind man. Maybe we could meet when I get out. Classic Jennifer. We forwarded everything to the Arizona Parole Board. Jennifer's parole was revoked for violating terms of her release. She went back to prison to serve out her remaining sentence. This time there would be no early release, no good behavior credits. She'd be locked up for at least another year. When I got the news, I was at the beach house with Emma watching her play in the sand. Marcus and Sarah were at a doctor's appointment for the new baby. The ocean was calm, the sun was warm, and for the first time in what felt like forever, I felt actual peace. Marcus called from the car on their way home. Mom, the doctor said everything looks great. Baby's healthy, Sarah's healthy, we're having a boy, due in December. That's wonderful, sweetheart. I'm so happy for you both. There's more. Sarah and I talked and we want to name him David, after Dad, if that's okay with you. I had to sit down, tears suddenly streaming down my face. Emma looked up from her sandcastle concerned. Gamma okay? Gamma's perfect, sweetie. I wiped my eyes, smiled at her. Marcus, your father would be so honored. So am I. Thank you. That night, the whole family gathered for dinner again. Derek and Amanda flew in with Lily, who was shy at first, but warmed up quickly when Emma shared her toys. We cooked out on the deck, watched the kids play, talked about normal things for the first time in years. No Jennifer, no lawyers, no crisis, just family. Later, after the kids were in bed and the adults were having wine on the porch, Derek raised his glass. "I want to make a toast to Margaret, who saved my life without even knowing me, to Marcus for being brave enough to share his story, to this whole family for showing me what real strength looks like. I don't know where Lily and I would be without you, but it wouldn't be here. It wouldn't be safe. Thank you." We clinked glasses as the sun set over the Pacific. Amanda spoke up, voice soft. "Can I ask you something, Margaret? How did you know? How did you know Jennifer was dangerous when everyone else, including Marcus, couldn't see it?" I thought about that for a long moment. I think it was because I'd already lost so much. When David died, I had nothing left to lose except Marcus. So I was really watching in a way I might not have if I'd been happier or more distracted. I saw the red flags because I couldn't afford to miss them. And once I saw them, I couldn't unsee them. But how did you have the courage to fight, to risk your relationship with Marcus by investigating his wife? Because keeping him safe was more important than keeping him close. That's what being a parent means sometimes. Making the hard choice, the unpopular choice, the choice that might make your kid hate you because it's the right choice. I'd rather have Marcus alive and angry with me than destroyed and grateful. That's just math. Marcus reached over and squeezed my hand. "I was never going to hate you, Mom. Even when I didn't understand, even when I was defending Jennifer, some part of me knew you were trying to protect me. It just took a while to admit it." Sarah leaned against his shoulder. "The foundation has helped 63 families now. 63 people who might have ended up like Derek or worse. That's 63 families who are safe because you fought back and then decided to help others do the same. That's legacy, Margaret. That's what David's money was supposed to do. Make the world better." I looked around at all of them, at this family we'd built and protected and fought for. Derek and Lily, who'd found refuge with us. Amanda, who'd become like another daughter. Marcus and Sarah and Emma and the baby coming soon. Tom Chen and Robert Morrison, who'd become family too in all the ways that mattered. "Your father used to say something," I said quietly. He'd say, "The purpose of wealth isn't to make your life easier, it's to make your choices clearer." We had the money to fight Jennifer, to hire investigators and lawyers to wait her out and trap her. Most people don't have that luxury. They just get destroyed and move on because they don't have options. So yes, we built the foundation. We help people. But more than that, we show them they have choices. They can fight back. They can win. "Jennifer's going to get out eventually," Amanda said. "Even with the parole violation, she'll be out in another year or so. What happens then?" "Then she gets out," I said simply. "And maybe she really does change, though I doubt it. Or maybe she finds another victim. But that victim will have resources now. They'll have the documentary, the foundation, the knowledge that they're not alone. We can't save everyone, Amanda, but we can make it a lot harder for people like Jennifer to win." Later that night, after everyone had gone to bed, I stood alone on the deck one more time. This spot, this exact spot, where David and I had spent so many evenings, where I'd held him as he died, where Marcus had sobbed after Jennifer's betrayal, where we'd made plans and fought battles and slowly, painfully rebuilt our lives. The beach house stood solid beneath my feet. David's house, our house, the house Jennifer had tried to steal and failed. It was more than just wood and nails and ocean views. It was proof that love was stronger than manipulation, that family was stronger than greed, that patient rage and careful planning could defeat even the most skilled con artist. I thought about Jennifer sitting in a prison cell in Arizona, probably already planning her next move. Some people never learned, but I'd learned plenty. I'd learned that kindness without boundaries is weakness, that mercy without justice is enabling, that sometimes the most loving thing you can do is destroy someone's ability to hurt the people you care about. Jennifer had called me a vindictive old bitch. She was right. I was vindictive. I'd spent years making sure she paid for what she'd done, making sure she couldn't hurt anyone else, making sure her name was mud anywhere she tried to start over. And I didn't feel bad about it, not even a little bit, because vindictive meant I remembered. It meant I didn't forgive or forget. It meant I protected my own with everything I had. And in a world full of predators like Jennifer, maybe that's exactly what families needed. Someone willing to be vindictive on their behalf. My phone buzzed. A text from the Foundation's emergency line. A woman in Seattle just discovered her daughter-in-law was stealing from her accounts. Scared alone, didn't know what to do. I read the message and felt that familiar fire ignite in my chest. Here we go again. I texted back immediately. You're not alone. We can help. Call this number in the morning. Then I looked up at the stars over the Pacific at the same sky David used to navigate our old sailboat by, and I smiled. The war with Jennifer was over, but the larger fight continued. There were more families to protect, more victims to help, more predators to stop. And I was ready. God help me, I was always ready. Because that's what Jennifer had never understood. She'd thought destroying Marcus would break me. Instead, it had forged me into something harder, sharper, more dangerous than she could have imagined. She'd created her own worst enemy. And that enemy was a 73-year-old woman with $42 million, a brilliant legal team, and absolutely zero tolerance for people who hurt her family. Jennifer was in prison. But somewhere out there right now, some other predator was targeting some other family. And maybe, just maybe, that family would find the Morrison Legacy Foundation before it was too late. Maybe we'd get there in time. Maybe we'd save them the way I'd saved Marcus. That was my purpose now, my mission. My reason for getting up every morning and fighting the good fight even when I was tired, even when it felt hopeless, even when the Jennifers of the world kept coming. Because David had left me more than money. He'd left me a choice. I could hide behind wealth and safety, or I could use those resources to make the world a little less cruel. And standing here on his deck in his house watching over his family, the choice was obvious. The war with Jennifer was over. But the war for justice, for protection, for family, that war was just getting started. And I intended to win every single battle. The woman from Seattle called at 7 the next morning. Her name was Patricia Chen, 68 years old. Voice shaking so hard I could barely understand her. My daughter-in-law cleared out my savings account, $80,000, gone. My son says I must have made a mistake, that I probably moved it somewhere and forgot. But I didn't forget. I know I didn't. I was already pulling up her intake form on my computer, signaling to Tom Chen, who just walked into the Foundation office. Patricia, I need you to listen to me very carefully. Do you have access to your bank statements right now? Yes, they're right here. I printed everything out last night. Good. Now tell me exactly what happened. Start from the beginning. The story came out in broken pieces. Patricia's husband had died 2 years ago, leaving her comfortable but not wealthy. Her son Michael had married a woman named Crystal 6 months ago. Crystal was young, beautiful, worked in finance. She'd offered to help Patricia organize her accounts, said older people needed professional guidance with their money. Patricia had been grateful, had given Crystal access to one account to help pay bills. That account now had $12 in it. "And your son doesn't believe you?" I asked, already knowing the answer. Crystal told him I've been confused lately, that I accused the mailman of stealing last month, that I keep forgetting conversations. None of that is true, but Michael believes her. He says I'm getting old, that maybe it's time to think about memory care facilities. He's talking about having me evaluated for dementia. Classic playbook. Isolate the victim, discredit them, make everyone think they're incompetent. I'd seen it a dozen times since the foundation started. Patricia, I want you to go to your bank this morning, in person. Ask to speak with the branch manager. Tell them you believe there's been fraudulent activity on your account and you want to file a formal complaint. Can you do that? But what if Crystal finds out? What if she convinces Michael to have me committed? She can't have you committed without a medical evaluation, and you're not going to fail that evaluation because there's nothing wrong with you. But Patricia, you need to act fast. The longer you wait, the harder it is to prove fraud. Tom Chen, our investigator, is going to call you in 10 minutes. He'll walk you through everything you need to do. We're going to help you, but you have to be brave. Can you be brave? A long pause. Then her voice came back stronger. Yes, I can be brave. After I hung up, Tom was already on his laptop. Crystal Morrison, married name, maiden name Davis. Want to bet I find a pattern? I'll bet you my next paycheck. 3 hours later, Tom had found 5 other elderly people Crystal had worked for as a financial advisor. All of them had reported missing money. None of them had pressed charges because their families had convinced them they were confused, mistaken suffering from dementia. Crystal had a system. She'd target elderly people who'd recently lost spouses, offer to help gain access to accounts, drain them slowly enough that it looked like normal spending, then move on before anyone caught on. She's made over $400,000 in the last 3 years, Tom said grimly. That we can prove, probably more we can't. I called Patricia back. We found something. Crystal's done this before, multiple times. We have evidence we have other victims. Patricia, we're going to stop her, but I need you to trust me completely. Can you do that? What do you need me to do? First, go to the bank like we discussed. File that fraud report. Then, and this is important, you're going to tell your son that you want Crystal to help you organize more of your finances. You're going to act confused, grateful for her help, exactly what she expects. Can you do that? Patricia's voice was suddenly sharp clear. You want me to set a trap. I want to give her enough rope to hang herself. If she thinks you're an easy mark, if she thinks you're confused and your family doesn't believe you, she'll get sloppy. She'll take more. And when she does, we'll have her. I'm 73 years old, and I just lost my husband of 46 years. I thought I was done fighting, but you know what? Let's destroy this bitch. I actually laughed. Patricia, I think we're going to be great friends. The next 2 weeks were intense. Patricia played her role perfectly, acting increasingly confused around Crystal while secretly documenting everything. Crystal took the bait, started accessing Patricia's other accounts, moving larger amounts. Tom tracked every transaction, built an airtight case. Meanwhile, I worked with Patricia's son Michael, who was horrified when I showed him the evidence. I don't understand, Tez, Michael kept saying, looking at the bank records. Crystal's in finance. She makes good money. Why would she do this? Because predators don't do it for the money, I explained. They do it for the power, the thrill of getting away with it. Your mother's not the first victim, and she won't be the last unless we stop her now. My mom, she seemed so confused lately. I thought she was losing it. Your mom was being gaslighted by a professional. Crystal made her doubt her own mind. That's what they do, Michael. They make you think you're crazy, so you stop trusting yourself. When we finally had enough evidence, we didn't go to the police. We went to Crystal's employer, a major investment firm in Seattle. I sat across from their head of compliance, a sharp woman named Victoria, and laid out everything. The other victims, the pattern, the current fraud against Patricia. If you don't fire her immediately and help us press charges, I said calmly, I'm going to hold a press conference tomorrow explaining how your firm employed a serial fraudster who targeted elderly clients for 3 years. The Netflix documentary about my family's experience will look like a warm-up compared to what I'll do to your company's reputation. Crystal was arrested the next day at her office. Patricia was there along with Michael and 2 other victims we'd found. When the police walked Crystal out in handcuffs, Patricia stood straight and tall and said clearly, I'm not confused, I'm not senile, and I'm not your victim anymore. Crystal looked at me, recognition dawning. You're that woman from the documentary, the one who destroyed Jennifer Vaughn. I didn't destroy Jennifer, I said pleasantly. She destroyed herself. I just made sure everyone knew about it. Same thing I'm going to do to you. That case broke something open. Suddenly, the foundation was getting calls from all over the country. Adult children worried about their parents. Elderly people who'd been told they were confused when they knew something was wrong. People who'd seen the documentary, who'd read about Crystal's arrest, who realized they weren't alone. We hired more staff. Tom brought on 2 other investigators. Robert connected us with lawyers in different states who worked on contingency. Sarah started training volunteers to run support groups. Marcus took a leave from his job to help run operations full-time. The foundation grew from a small office to a real organization helping dozens of families every month. But growth brought problems. 3 months after Crystal's arrest, our accountant called an emergency meeting. We're burning through funds faster than the trust can sustain. At this rate, we'll be insolvent in 8 months. I sat in that meeting with Marcus, Sarah, Robert, and Tom looking at spreadsheets that showed the brutal truth. Helping people was expensive. Legal fees, investigation, costs counseling services, emergency financial assistance for victims. We were doing good work, but we couldn't keep doing it at this pace without more money. We need to fundraise, Sarah said. Go public with what we're doing, ask for donations. That makes us vulnerable, Tom warned. Public fundraising means public scrutiny. Every case we take gets examined, every decision gets questioned, and people like Jennifer and Crystal, they'll see it as an opportunity to attack, claim we're using victim stories for profit. What if we don't have a choice? Marcus asked quietly. What if it's either go public or shut down? How many people suffer because we were too afraid of criticism? I looked at David's photo on my desk, the one I'd brought from the beach house. He was laughing in it, standing on the deck of his sailboat completely in his element. What would David do? He'd sailed through storms that terrified experienced sailors. He'd built a company from nothing, risked everything on ideas people said would never work. He'd never played it safe. We go public, I said firmly. Full transparency. We show people exactly where the money goes, exactly who we help. We make ourselves bulletproof through honesty. And yes, Jennifer and Crystal and every other predator we've exposed will try to tear us down. Let them try. The publicity campaign launched 2 weeks later. Sarah, brilliant teacher that she was, created a presentation showing exactly how the foundation worked. Marcus did interviews talking about the families we'd helped. Robert wrote articles for legal journals about financial elder abuse. And I reluctantly did a profile piece for a major magazine about building the foundation after Jennifer's betrayal. The response was overwhelming. Donations poured in enough to fund operations for 2 years. But so did the attacks. Anonymous blogs popped up claiming the foundation was a scam. Social media accounts spread rumors that we kept most of the donations for ourselves. And then, inevitably, Jennifer's name started appearing in comment sections. Margaret Morrison is a vindictive woman who destroyed my life because I married her son. The foundation is just her way of continuing to harass people she doesn't like. I showed the comments to Robert, who shrugged. Ignore them. Everyone who matters knows the truth. But the attacks escalated. Someone created a fake website that looked like ours, asking for donations that went to a private account. Someone else filed a complaint with the state attorney general claiming we were operating a fraudulent charity. Every case we took suddenly had online trolls claiming the victims were lying, that we'd fabricated evidence that the whole foundation was a conspiracy. It's Jennifer, Tom said during an emergency meeting. Has to be. The timing, the tactics. It's her playbook. She's orchestrating this from prison. How she's locked up, she doesn't have internet access. She has visitors, phone calls, mail. She's coordinating with someone on the outside. I'd bet everything I own. Can you prove it? Tom's face was grim. Working on it. But even if I can, what do we do? She's already in prison. There's no lower we can send her. That's when Sarah spoke up. We don't fight her directly. We go around her. For every fake website, we create 10 real stories. For every anonymous attack, we put a name and face to someone we've helped. We flood the zone with truth until her lies can't compete. So that's what we did. Patricia Chen did an interview about how the foundation saved her from Crystal's fraud. Michael, her son, talked about learning to recognize gaslighting. Derek Vaughn and Amanda did a follow-up piece about Lily, now 4 years old and thriving. We published financial statements showing every dollar we'd received and spent. We made ourselves radically transparent. It worked. Slowly, the attacks lost steam. The fake websites got shut down. The Attorney General's investigation cleared us completely. And donations kept coming from people who believed in what we were doing, who wanted to help protect vulnerable families. But I couldn't shake the feeling that Jennifer was still out there, still planning, still waiting for her next opportunity to strike. That opportunity came in December, the night Sarah went into labor. We were all at the hospital, Marcus pacing nervously, Emma with my sister who'd flown in to help. Sarah was handling contractions like a champion, cracking jokes between pushes. Everything was going well until a nurse came into the waiting room looking for me. Mrs. Morrison, there's a woman at the front desk asking for you. She says it's urgent. Her name is Diane Vaughn. My blood froze. Diane was Jennifer's mother. I'd never met her, but I knew the name from Tom's investigations. Did she say what she wants? She says Jennifer's escaped. I stood up so fast I knocked over my coffee. Marcus heard and came running from Sarah's room. What's wrong? Jennifer escaped from prison. Her mother's downstairs. We found Diane Vaughn in the hospital lobby, a small woman in her 60s who looked like she'd aged a decade in the last few years. She was crying, hands shaking. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. She called me an hour ago, said she'd escaped during a prison transfer, that she needed money. I hung up on her and called the police, but then I saw the news about the foundation, saw your son's wife was having a baby here tonight. Jennifer knows. She knows about the baby. She said something on the phone about finally getting even, about making you feel what she felt. I think she's coming here. Hospital security was alerted immediately. Phoenix police were called. Tom Chen was on the phone coordinating with Arizona authorities. The hospital went into lockdown, all entrances monitored. And upstairs, Sarah was still in labor, completely unaware of the chaos exploding around her. Marcus wanted to tell her. I stopped him. She's in active labor. You tell her Jennifer's escaped and targeting our family, she'll panic. That's not safe for her or the baby. We handle this quietly. Security's on it. Police are on it. Sarah delivers your son in peace. What if Jennifer gets past security? What if she actually gets to Sarah? Then she goes through me first, I said flatly. And Marcus, I promise you, that is not going to end well for Jennifer. Tom came back from talking to police. They've got units surrounding the hospital. Jennifer's not getting in. But Margaret, there's more. The prison is saying she didn't escape. They released her this morning. Early release prison overcrowding. She served enough of her sentence that they let her out. That's impossible. She had another year minimum. Budget cuts. Prison overcrowding crisis. They're releasing nonviolent offenders early to make room. Jennifer qualified. They let her out this morning, and she didn't report to her parole officer. Now she's in violation, but she's also free at least for the next few hours until they find her. I felt rage so pure it was almost cleansing. They let her out. They let a serial fraudster who was violating parole terms out of prison, and now she's coming after my family. Diane was still crying. I'm so sorry. I should have been a better mother, should have seen what she was becoming. I thought prison would change her. I thought she'd finally learn. But when she called me the way she talked about you, about your family, she sounded completely unhinged. Please, you have to protect yourselves. Don't let her hurt anyone else because of me. I looked at this broken woman who'd raised a monster and felt an unexpected wave of sympathy. This isn't your fault, Diane. Jennifer made her choices. But I need you to do something for me. If she contacts you again, you keep her talking. You tell her whatever she wants to hear, and you call me immediately. Can you do that? Diane nodded, wiped her eyes. I can do that. I want this to end. I want my daughter to get the help she needs, even if that means she goes back to prison for a long time. 2 hours later, Sarah delivered a healthy baby boy, 8 pounds, 3 ounces, perfect in every way. Marcus held his son and cried, and Sarah looked exhausted and radiant and completely at peace. They had no idea that police were stationed outside the maternity ward, that security was checking every visitor, that somewhere in Phoenix, Jennifer was free and planning God knows what. I held baby David, looked into his tiny face, and made a silent promise. This child would grow up safe, protected, free from the shadow of Jennifer Vaughn. Whatever it took, however long it took, I would make sure of it. Tom found me in the hospital chapel at midnight. I hadn't been praying, just sitting in the quiet, trying to center myself. She's gone dark. No phone activity, no credit card use, no one's seen her. It's like she vanished. She didn't vanish. She's planning something. When's the last time Jennifer did anything without a plan? That's what scares me. If she's gone quiet, she's got help. Someone's hiding her, funding her. And that means this is bigger than just her showing up to cause trouble. We need to find her first. Working on it. I've got contacts in Phoenix running down every lead. But Margaret, we need to consider that she might not come at you directly. She might go after the foundation or other families we've helped. She might try to destroy what you've built instead of confronting you personally. The thought hadn't occurred to me, but Tom was right. Jennifer had always been strategic. A direct attack on my family would put her back in prison immediately. But discrediting the foundation, destroying our reputation, turning the families we'd helped against us, that was more her style. Put extra security on Patricia Chen and the others. Anyone we've helped publicly, anyone whose name is attached to us. If Jennifer's going after the foundation, she'll target them first. 3 days later, my worst fears were confirmed. Patricia Chen called voice tight with fear. "Margaret, someone broke into my house last night. They didn't steal anything, but they left a note. It says, 'Margaret Morrison is using you. Ask her about the $40 million her husband left. Ask her why she really started the foundation.' Patricia, that note is meant to make you doubt me. It's meant to turn you against the foundation." "I'm not doubting you. I'm telling you so you know what she's doing. But Margaret, if she broke into my house, she knows where I live. What if she comes back?" I had Patricia move to a safe location that day, a private security detail assigned to her. Then I called an emergency meeting of everyone associated with the foundation. Staff volunteers, lawyers, every family we'd helped. 37 people crammed into our conference room. Jennifer Vaughn is out of prison, and she's targeting people connected to this foundation. She's trying to discredit us by planting doubts, making you question our motives. So I'm going to be completely transparent with you right now. Yes, my husband left me $42 million. Yes, I used that money to start this foundation after Jennifer tried to destroy my family. No, I don't take a salary. No, none of the donations go to me personally. Everything is documented. Everything is public record. If Jennifer makes you doubt that you can walk away, I won't hold it against you. But if you stay, you need to know this might get ugly before it gets better." Patricia stood up. "I'm staying. Jennifer already tried to destroy me once. I'm not giving her a second chance." One by one, the others agreed. Not a single person left. And sitting there, surrounded by people who'd survived their own Jennifers and come out stronger, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Hope. Real hope. Jennifer had made a critical mistake. She thought attacking the foundation would isolate us, make us vulnerable. Instead, she just unified every person she'd ever hurt into a single force against her. Tom's phone rang. He stepped outside, came back 5 minutes later looking grim. They found Jennifer. She was holed up in a motel in Tempe with a man named Richard Patterson. The name took me a second. Wait, Richard Patterson? One of the men she was writing from prison. The same. Apparently she convinced him she was being persecuted by a wealthy family, that she needed help disappearing. He was funding her, hiding her. Tom paused. But here's the thing. Police found her because she'd been using Patterson's credit cards. She'd already drained his checking account and was working on his retirement fund. Old habits die hard, I guess. Where is she now? County jail, parole violation, fraud charges, breaking and entering from Patricia's house. The judge denied bail. She's not getting out this time, Margaret. Not for years. I should have felt relieved, victorious, something. Instead, I just felt tired. How many times are we going to do this? How many times is she going to come back? As many times as it takes until she's too old or too broken to keep trying, Tom said honestly. People like Jennifer, they don't stop. They don't learn. They just keep going until something or someone stops them permanently. That night I stood on the beach house deck again, the place where everything had started and somehow kept ending. Marcus found me there, baby David, asleep in his arms. Sarah's asking for you. She wants you to come up, have a glass of wine, celebrate that Jennifer's finally locked up for real this time. In a minute, I'm just thinking. About what? About how this keeps happening, how we keep winning, but it never feels like we've actually won. Jennifer's in jail again, but there are 1,000 other Jennifers out there doing the same thing, and we can't stop them all. Marcus shifted baby David to his other shoulder. We're not supposed to stop them all. We're just supposed to stop the ones we can reach, help the people who find us, make it a little bit harder for the predators to win. That's enough, Mom. That has to be enough. I looked at my son, at my grandson, at the family we'd protected and the life we'd built. Marcus was right. We couldn't save everyone, but we'd saved Patricia. We'd saved Derek and Lily. We'd saved dozens of other families through the foundation. And we'd made sure Jennifer paid for her crimes over and over until the lesson finally stuck or she died trying to avoid it. Yeah, I said finally. Yeah, you're right. That's enough. We went back inside together to Sarah and Emma and the rest of the family waiting, to wine and laughter and the sound of baby David starting to fuss, to life continuing forward despite Jennifer, despite all the predators and con artists and people who tried to destroy families for profit. The beach house was full of light and warmth and love. David's house, our house, the house that Jennifer had tried to steal and failed twice now. The house that stood as proof that some things were worth fighting for no matter how many times you had to fight. Jennifer was in jail. The foundation was thriving. Our family was safe. For now, for this moment, that was victory enough. But victory never lasted as long as I wanted it to. 5 years passed in what felt like both an eternity and a heartbeat. Baby David grew into a rambunctious 5-year-old who loved the ocean and building sandcastles with his big sister Emma. The foundation had helped over 300 families. Jennifer was still in prison serving a 7-year sentence, this time with no chance of early release. Life had finally mercifully settled into something resembling normal. Then Marcus came home one evening with that look on his face. The one I'd learned to dread. The one that meant our peace was about to shatter again. Mom, we need to talk. All of us. Sarah, can you get the kids to your sister's house for the night? Sarah took one look at his face and nodded, didn't ask questions. 20 minutes later, it was just the 3 of us at the kitchen table, the same table where so many battles had been planned. Marcus pulled out his laptop, turned it to face me. Jennifer's lawyer filed an appeal. Claims she was wrongfully convicted based on fabricated evidence. Claims we orchestrated a conspiracy to frame her because of personal vendetta. He's requesting a new trial, and he's got 3 judges willing to hear the case. I stared at the legal documents on the screen. That's insane. Everything was documented. We had witnesses evidence her own admission in some cases. How can she possibly claim it was fabricated? Because her new lawyer is Nathan Cross. The name hit me like cold water. Nathan Cross was famous or infamous depending on who you asked. He specialized in overturning convictions, getting guilty people freed on technicalities. He'd gotten serial fraudsters acquitted, white-collar criminals released, all by finding tiny procedural errors and exploiting them ruthlessly. If Jennifer had Nathan Cross, she had a real chance. How the hell did she get Nathan Cross? He charges $500,000 just to take a case. That's the problem, Marcus said quietly. Someone's funding her, someone with serious money. Tom's been digging, but he can't figure out who. The money's coming through shell corporations' offshore accounts. Someone wants Jennifer out of prison badly enough to hire the best lawyer money can buy. Sarah leaned forward. Could it be Richard Patterson? The man from Arizona she conned? Patterson died 8 months ago. Heart attack, left everything to his kids, and they hate Jennifer. It's not him. Then who? I felt panic rising in my chest. Who would spend that kind of money on Jennifer? We don't know, but Mom, there's more. Cross filed a motion to subpoena all of the Foundation's records. Every case, every client, every dollar we've spent. He's claiming the Foundation is a front for a harassment campaign against Jennifer, that we've been using our resources to destroy her reputation and frame her for crimes she didn't commit. If a judge grants that motion, everything becomes public. Every family we've helped, their names, their stories, their private details, all of it exposed. I felt the room spin. The Foundation's entire purpose was protecting vulnerable people. If their information became public, if predators could identify them, target them again, we'd be doing more harm than good. We'd be serving victims up on a silver platter. He can't do that. There are privacy laws, client confidentiality. Not if he can convince a judge we're engaged in criminal conspiracy. Then all bets are off. Marcus looked exhausted, defeated. Mom, I don't know how to fight this. Cross is too good. He's never lost an appeal. Never. Robert Morrison's voice came from the doorway. We hadn't heard him come in. That's not technically true. He lost one appeal 15 years ago. Case was thrown out on a technicality before it even got heard. Robert walked into the kitchen, set his briefcase on the table. I did some research after Marcus called me. Nathan Cross has one weakness. He's arrogant, thinks he's the smartest person in any room, and sometimes that makes him sloppy. Can we use that? Sarah asked. Maybe. But first, we need to figure out who's funding Jennifer. Because whoever it is, they're not doing it out of the goodness of their heart. They want something. And until we know what that something is, we're fighting blind. Tom Chen arrived an hour later with File's laptop and a grim expression. I've been tracking the money. It's coming from a shell corporation in Delaware, but that corporation is owned by another corporation in the Cayman Islands, which is owned by a trust in Switzerland. Someone went to a lot of trouble to hide their identity. Can you crack it? Given enough time, maybe. But Cross's motion hearing is in 3 weeks. We don't have time. I stood up, paced to the window, looked out at the ocean. David and I had stood at this window so many times planning our future, dreaming about retirement, never imagining that years after his death, I'd still be fighting wars. What if we don't focus on who's funding her? What if we focus on what they want? Everyone looked at me. I turned back to face them. Think about it. Someone spends $500,000 to get Jennifer out of prison. That's not charity. That's investment. They expect a return. So what could Jennifer possibly offer that's worth that kind of money? Tom's eyes widened. Information. She could have information on someone, something they want buried. Or, Sarah said slowly, she could have promised to do something for them, something illegal that she's uniquely qualified for. Marcus shook his head. But Jennifer's specialty is financial fraud against individuals. What could she do that's worth $500,000 to someone? Robert was staring at his phone, fingers flying across the screen. Hold on. I'm looking at Cross's client list. Most of his cases are financial crimes, white-collar stuff. But 3 years ago, he defended a tech CEO named Vincent Marsh. Marsh was accused of defrauding investors out of $40 million. Cross got him off on a technicality. So, Marcus asked, so Vincent Marsh lives in Newport Beach, has a $20 million estate, and according to public records, he's been looking for a new personal assistant. Someone to manage his household finances, coordinate with his investment team, someone with experience in finance. The implications hit me all at once. He's hiring Jennifer. He gets her out of prison, she comes to work for him, and he gets a professional con artist on his personal staff. But why? Why would someone that wealthy need Jennifer's particular skill set? Because, Tom said, pulling up something on his laptop, Vincent Marsh is currently in a custody battle with his ex-wife. Ugly, expensive, dragging through courts for 2 years. She's claiming he hid assets during the divorce, that he owes her another $50 million in the settlement. If she can prove that she wins. If she can't, she gets nothing. And Jennifer specializes in finding hidden assets, I said slowly. Or in Marsh's case, making sure they stay hidden, maybe even making them more hidden. Robert nodded. If Marsh hired Jennifer, gave her access to his financial records, she could restructure everything to be legally untraceable. She could make that $50 million disappear so thoroughly his ex-wife would never find it. And Jennifer gets out of prison, gets paid handsomely, and starts over with a legitimate job that gives her access to exactly the kind of wealth she's always wanted to steal. But that doesn't explain the appeal, Sarah pointed out. If Marsh just wanted to hire her, why not wait until she served her sentence? Because his custody hearing is in 2 months, Tom said, reading from his screen. If his ex-wife's lawyers find the hidden assets before then, he loses everything. He needs Jennifer now, and the appeal is the fastest way to get her out. I felt sick. So, we're not just fighting Jennifer, we're fighting a billionaire who needs her expertise badly enough to spend whatever it takes to free her. Essentially, yes. The silence that followed was heavy. Fighting Jennifer was one thing. Fighting Jennifer backed by Vincent Marsh's unlimited resources was something else entirely. We could lose. We could actually lose this time. Marcus broke the silence. We expose it. We expose Marsh's involvement, show the judge that this appeal is being funded by someone with a vested interest in getting Jennifer out to commit more crimes. That kills Cross's credibility. Can we prove it? Robert asked Tom. Not in 3 weeks, maybe not ever. These shell corporations, the way the money's hidden, it could take months or years to definitively connect Marsh to Jennifer's legal fees. By then, the appeal hearing will be over. Then we need a different approach, I said. We need to make Jennifer toxic to Marsh, make it so that hiring her would cause him more problems than it solves. How? I thought for a moment. What if Jennifer's victims went public? Not through the foundation, but independently. What if every person she'd ever conned did interviews, told their stories, made it clear that Jennifer Vaughn is untouchable, Marsh couldn't hire her without it becoming a PR nightmare? His custody case would implode if the judge saw he was planning to employ a known con artist. Sarah nodded slowly. I can reach out to the support groups, get people willing to speak up. But Margaret, some of them have moved on. Some of them won't want to relive their trauma just to stop Jennifer again. Then we ask, we explain what's at stake, and we respect whatever they decide. Over the next 2 weeks, Sarah and I contacted every victim we could find. Patricia Chen agreed immediately, fierce and ready to fight. Derek Vaughn was hesitant, but ultimately agreed for Lily's sake. The others were mixed. Some said yes, some said no, some needed time to think. In the end, we had 11 people willing to go public with their stories in a coordinated media push. But the night before we were supposed to launch the campaign, Patricia called me at midnight, voice shaking. Margaret, someone broke into my house again. They didn't take anything, but they left another note. This one says, "Go public and you'll regret it. We know where your son lives. We know where his kids go to school." Ice flooded my veins. Patricia, call the police right now. Then pack a bag. You're coming to stay with us until this is over. I'm not going to let them scare me off. This isn't about being scared off. This is about being smart. If they're threatening Michael and your grandchildren, we take it seriously. Patricia arrived at the beach house 3 hours later with 2 suitcases and a baseball bat. If anyone tries anything, I'm ready. Despite everything, I had to smile. Patricia, you're 73 years old. So are you. Hasn't stopped you from going to war multiple times. She had a point. The threats didn't stop with Patricia. Over the next 48 hours, 3 other victims received similar warnings, anonymous calls, threatening letters, messages that made it clear someone was watching them. Tom traced what he could, but hit dead ends everywhere. Professional intimidation, probably hired through the same channels that were funding Jennifer's legal defense. They're trying to silence everyone before the appeal hearing, Robert said during another emergency meeting. Classic witness intimidation. We can report it, but proving who's behind it is almost impossible. So what do we do? Marcus asked. We can't put people in danger just to stop Jennifer. We don't have to, I said slowly, an idea forming. What if we already have everything we need, Tom? You said you can't prove Vincent Marsh is funding Jennifer's defense, but can you prove he's been hiding assets from his ex-wife? Tom's eyes lit up. Possibly. If I can access his financial records, if I can show the pattern. But that's illegal without a warrant or subpoena, and we don't have grounds for either. His ex-wife's lawyers might. Robert caught on immediately. We give them the information we have. Let them investigate Marsh independently. If they find evidence of hidden assets, they bring it to the judge in the custody case. That destroys Marsh's credibility and eliminates his reason for needing Jennifer. Can we do that without exposing our sources, without putting Tom at risk? We can make an anonymous tip, send them everything we've found so far, point them in the right direction. What they do with it is up to them. It was risky. It was possibly illegal. It was definitely walking an ethical tightrope. But it was also the only move we had left. Tom spent 3 days putting together a package. Financial records he'd obtained through various means. He refused to explain analysis of shell corporations and offshore accounts patterns that suggested Marsh had been systematically hiding assets for years. Everything was documented, sourced, and damning if anyone bothered to look closely. This is enough to get real investigators involved, Tom said, sealing the package. But once I send this, there's no taking it back. If Marsh figures out we're behind it, he'll come after us with everything he's got. Send it, I said. We didn't start this fight, but we're damn well going to finish it. The package went to Marcia's ex-wife's legal team anonymously. We waited. The appeal hearing was 5 days away, and we had no idea if our gambit would work. Then 3 days before the hearing news broke, Vincent Marsh was under investigation for tax fraud and hiding assets during his divorce proceedings. His ex-wife's lawyers had uncovered evidence of Shell Corporation's offshore accounts, systematic financial manipulation. The judge in the custody case had frozen all of Marsh's accounts pending investigation. He was facing possible criminal charges. And suddenly Nathan Cross withdrew from Jennifer's appeal. No explanation, no warning, just filed paperwork removing himself as her attorney. Without Cross, Jennifer's appeal collapsed. The motion to subpoena the foundation's records was denied. The appeal hearing was canceled. Jennifer would stay in prison for the remainder of her sentence. No early release, no technicalities, no last-minute rescue. We'd won. Actually, won. The celebration at the beach house that night was subdued. We'd won, but it felt hollow. We'd had to fight dirty use questionable tactics, put people at risk. Robert kept saying we'd done what we had to do, that sometimes fighting predators meant getting your hands dirty. But I kept thinking about David, about whether he'd approve of the choices we'd made. Marcus found me on the porch later in our spot. "You're thinking too much." "I'm thinking we've become the thing we were fighting against. We manipulated evidence, intimidated a billionaire, probably broke a dozen laws. How is that different from what Jennifer does?" "Intent," Marcus said firmly. "Jennifer destroys people for profit and power. We stop someone from helping her do more damage. That's different. Has to be different." "Does it? Where's the line, Marcus? How far do we go before we're just as bad as them?" He was quiet for a long moment. "I don't know, Mom, but I know this. You saved me from Jennifer. You built a foundation that's helped hundreds of people. You've spent the last 7 years fighting for people who couldn't fight for themselves. If you crossed some lines to do that, I think Dad would understand. I think he'd say that protecting family, protecting the vulnerable, that's worth bending the rules for." "Your father was a better person than I am." "No, he just never had to face what you've faced. But Mom, I knew Dad. I knew him my whole life. And I'm telling you, if someone had threatened his family the way Jennifer threatened us, he'd have done exactly what you did. Maybe worse." I wanted to believe that. Wanted to think David would approve of the woman I'd become, even the parts that scared me. The vindictive parts, the ruthless parts, the parts that would do anything, cross any line to protect the people I loved. The next morning, Robert called with news. Vincent Marsh cut a deal with prosecutors. He's pleading guilty to tax fraud, paying a massive fine, and giving his ex-wife the full settlement she was asking for. In exchange, they're not pursuing the more serious charges. He's financially destroyed, but avoiding prison. And Jennifer? Marsh's lawyers made it very clear that if Jennifer's name comes up in connection with him in any way, the deal is off. He's cutting all ties, which means Jennifer has no patron, no job prospects, nothing waiting for her when she gets out. When does she get out? 2 more years, and Margaret, the prison's transferring her to a maximum security facility out of state. No more minimum security, no more chance of early release. She's done. 2 years later, on a warm spring morning, I was in the foundation office when Tom walked in with a newspaper. "Thought you'd want to see this." The headline read, "Former con artist Jennifer Vaughn released after 9 years." There was a photo of her leaving prison looking older, harder, defeated. The article was short. Said she'd been released, was on strict parole, had moved to somewhere in the Midwest. No details, no drama. Just a brief mention that she'd served her time and was trying to start over. "Think she's really done?" Tom asked. "I don't know. Don't really care anymore, honestly. She's not our problem now. She's someone else's, or maybe she's no one's. Either way, we did what we could." That night, the whole family gathered at the beach house for David's birthday. We did it every year now, a tradition to remember him and celebrate the family he'd built. Emma was 13 now, David Jr. was 10, and Sarah was pregnant again with their 3rd child. Derek and Amanda came with Lily, who was 9 and beautiful, and completely unaware of her biological mother's history. Patricia Chen came with her son Michael and his family, all of them close friends now. We ate too much food, told stories about David that got more exaggerated every year, watched the kids play on the beach. It was loud and chaotic and perfect. Later, after everyone had gone home, Marcus and I stood on the porch one last time. "You know what I realized," he said. "Jennifer tried to steal this house 7 years ago. She failed. And now look at it, full of family, full of love, stronger than ever. She didn't just fail to destroy us. She made us stronger." That's a nice thought. It's true, though. The foundation exists because of her. All the people we've helped, all the families we've saved, that happened because Jennifer was evil enough to make us fight back. She created her own worst enemy, and now her legacy is all the good we've done despite her. I looked around the beach house, David's house, our house. The house that had survived everything. Hurricanes and betrayal, grief and war. The house that held 42 years of marriage, 3 generations of family, and countless memories. The house that Jennifer had tried to steal and failed, tried to destroy and failed, tried to haunt and failed. "Your father would be proud," I said finally. "Of you, of the foundation of this family, of all of it. He'd be proud of you most of all. You took his money and turned it into justice. You took your pain and turned it into protection for others. That's exactly what he would have wanted." We stood in comfortable silence watching the moonlight on the Pacific. Somewhere in the Midwest, Jennifer was starting over, trying to rebuild a life. I hoped she'd changed, hoped she'd finally learned. But I didn't kid myself that our war was completely over. People like Jennifer didn't change easily. They just adapted, evolved, found new ways to survive. But if she ever came back, if she ever tried again, we'd be ready. We'd always be ready, because that's what family did. They protected each other. They fought for each other. They crossed lines and bent rules and did whatever it took to keep each other safe. The beach house stood solid beneath my feet, waves crashing in their eternal rhythm. David had built this place with his own hands, poured his love into every board. And I'd defended it with everything I had, turned it from just a house into a fortress, a sanctuary, a symbol. Jennifer had said to me once on that video call that started everything, "We're going tomorrow, Mom. I've sold your beach house." She'd been so confident, so sure she'd won. But what she didn't know was that you can't sell what you don't own. You can't destroy what's built on love instead of greed. You can't defeat a mother who has nothing left to lose and everything to protect. She'd learned that lesson the hard way, multiple times. And maybe finally it had stuck. Marcus kissed my cheek and went inside to help Sarah with the kids. I stayed on the porch a few minutes longer, just me and the ocean and David's memory. "We did it, love," I whispered to the wind. "We protected our family. We built something good from something terrible. We won." The wind picked up warm and gentle, and I chose to believe it was David's way of saying he knew he approved, he was proud. The Morrison Legacy Foundation would continue its work. Jennifer Vaughn would fade into whatever obscurity she could find, and the beach house would stand here full of light and love and laughter for generations to come. That was victory, real, lasting, meaningful victory. And it was enough. Finally, completely, it was enough.